Welcome to Sens Talk. Welcome to Sens Talk. My name is Brandon Plant and I am your host. Happy Canada Day to everyone that celebrates and good morning to all of you. Last night, the Ottawa Senators made a couple of signings that set themselves up pretty interestingly going into today, which is free agency frenzy. That is right. Free agency opens today at noon. I'm recording this at roughly 9:30 in the morning here in Ottawa. So by the time you're watching this, it'll likely be within 30 to an hour before free agency opens. I'm expecting Ottawa to make a couple of signings, nothing major. I think they'll sniff around in the major guys, but with their limited cap space, I expect a couple of smart moves to, one, fill that fourth line need at the fourth line center role, and two, to get a middle six winger. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. If you look at your screen right now, here is my top 10 targets. I think ultimately, there's some guys that I would like that aren't on that list too, but ultimately, the top 5 might be more of a fallacy, but I think from 5 to 10, you're looking at guys Ottawa genuinely should have a chance at signing. So there's certainly some interesting guys out there for sure. But again, I would not expect the Ottawa Senators to go after Nikolai Ehlers like I think all of us would like them to do. Just feasibly does not make sense for the Ottawa Senators and their cap situation going into next year. Now, speaking of that, we have 2 signings to talk about, and the Ottawa Senators also qualified multiple RFAs yesterday. So let's talk about that real quick. Leevi Meriläinen is one of those RFAs. He's also one of those signings. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Donovan Sabrango also received a qualifying offer. Xavier Bourgault and Max Gannett also received qualifying offers. So that means multiple players who were RFAs are now going to be free agents today at noon because they did not receive a qualifying offer before the 5 o'clock deadline yesterday. That would include Philip Daou, Jamison Rees, and Tristan Robbins, who, again, did not receive qualifying offers. So Belleville will look different in the future. Maybe I'll do a video on that later this summer. But yeah, expect a lot of change out there in Belleville. But yeah, again, we'll have to see what happens with those other guys. And I forgot to mention Yannick is also one of those guys that got a qualifying offer. So Yannick, Sabrango, those are guys, Gannett as well, that are fringe NHLers that certainly might get some ice time this year in the National Hockey League, especially depending on what the Sens do this morning and throughout the summer in the free agency era. So with that, let's move forward now into the news of the day, I guess, or from last night, as the Ottawa Senators signed 2 players, starting with goaltender Leevi Meriläinen, baby. The Maryland Sanity is sticking around in Ottawa, and Nick Cousins also stays, so 2 guys are returning. But before I go into in-depth breakdowns on both of the players, what they bring, and why these are solid signings for Ottawa, I want to give a shout-out to Dylan Puckniak and Keller Williams Sports and Entertainment for sponsoring Sens Talk, as Sens Talk is proudly presented by Dylan Puckniak, Ottawa's exclusive realtor, with Keller Williams Sports and Entertainment. Providing a bilingual real estate service that serves the Ottawa-Gatineau community, Dylan Puckniak is also specialized in supporting professional athletes that come and go in our city, providing a service that takes care of the people at the highest level. For a realtor experience that puts you and your needs first, visit dylanpuckniak.kw.com. That is dylanpuckniak.kw.com to find out more today. Again, thank you to Dylan Puckniak and Keller Williams Sports and Entertainment for sponsoring Sens Talk. So let's get to the first signing that dropped roughly around 5 o'clock yesterday, just after I uploaded my draft recap video. By the way, watch that. Nearly 40 minutes of in-depth coverage on every single draft pick. I scoured the internet to find some clips on these guys. I did some tape breakdown. I did some of the player breakdown as well, just from their stats and scouting reports. It's so in-depth. Make sure to check it out. But after I uploaded that, the Ottawa Senators brought back Maryland Sanity. Leevi Meriläinen has extended with your Ottawa Senators on a 1-year prove-it deal at $1.05 million. It is one way, but I want to make this clear. That does not mean he will need waivers. He is not waiver eligible. So if the Ottawa Senators choose, as you saw before, I put David Riddick number 10 on my graphic, I still think the Sens might sign a veteran backup goaltender to insulate the goalie depth, especially considering Meriläinen hasn't played more than 15 NHL games. Okay, that's one. And Allmark has an injury history. I would not be shocked if they do that. Because of that, Leevi Meriläinen could absolutely be sent down to Belleville without requiring waivers, which is great. Next year, that won't be the case, though. What this does mean, though, in terms of the one-way is he's making $1.05 million, whether he's in Ottawa or Belleville. So a smart piece of business there for Leevi Meriläinen on 2 fronts. One, he's betting on himself. If he has a solid year as at least the backup for the Ottawa Senators, he's in for a pay raise. And two, if he's sent down for whatever reason, that won't hurt his chances here long term, obviously, because, again, he should flourish there in Belleville. He's proven he can dominate down there as well, and he will still be making over $1 million. So, good piece of business there for Leevi Meriläinen. And according to Bruce Garriock, the Sens offered him his qualifying offer. It was rejected, and then literally within minutes, it was renegotiated to this. So there was really never any issue of him coming back. They both clearly wanted to stay with one another, and most importantly, this avoids any potential of an offer sheet, today and moving forward. So that's good news, because again, a team like Edmonton, I could have saw them prying Leevi Meriläinen from us, because it's such a cheap contract, $1 million or so. We would not even gotten a draft pick to lose Leevi Meriläinen. We would have matched it, I'm sure, but we could have really got screwed. So this is a smart piece of business. Just get it out of the way. Now, I want to just speak about this real quick. The tandem of Linus Ullmark and Leevi Meriläinen next year, whoo, that is fire, baby. That is so good. Holy cow. You got a Vezina-winning goaltender, and then easily, in my opinion, one of the highest upside young goaltenders in the league. And as we talk about the stats here in a second, obviously I'm biased. I'm a Sens fan, but I don't think I'm crazy to say that. I think any fan around the NHL would agree. That's why guys were talking about Leevi Meriläinen potentially being an offer sheet candidate, because this guy, in my opinion, has projectability to be a starter in this league. And I don't think that's shocking to say, you know what I mean? So, again, having a tandem of a future star goaltender potentially in Leevi Merilinen Sanity, and then a current star goaltender, Vezina winner Linus Ullmark, oh yeah, you love to see that. And most of all, again, we saw it last year. The Ottawa Senators goaltending saved us when the depth scoring wasn't there, when the 5-on-5 scoring wasn't there, when the team was just inconsistent at times, and when Linus Ullmark went down specifically, the goaltending stepped up, that being Meriläinen, and then in general, during those other stretches when the offense wasn't there, the goaltending made up for it, especially Linus Ullmark with some incredible stretches where he had like a .970 save percentage. So, again, should we expect those numbers to stay? No, but even if it drops down to, let's say, average in the league between 9 to 910, I don't think that's going to happen, but let's just say for this experiment that it does. The Ottawa Senators still make the playoffs. So, again, the Ottawa Senators are going to have a bounce back year from their offensive guys. There's no way some of these guys that dropped offensively are not going to produce. And then the goaltenders, they might drop a bit, but I don't see any reason why Ullmark's going to drop suddenly. He's a Vezina winner that led the Sens to the playoffs last year, and then Leevi Meriläinen has dominated for 2 years in a row now in pro hockey. So this is really, really beautiful. And speaking of last year, let's take a look at Leevi Meriläinen's stats last year, shall we? So Meriläinen, or Merilinen Sandy as I love to call him, was 8-3-1 with a .925 save percentage, a 1.99 goals against average, and in his 8 wins, he got 3 shutouts. 3 out of the 9 Ottawa Senators shutouts from last year came from Mr. Merilinen Sanity in just 12 games. That's unbelievable. He also had a 4.11 goals saved above expected, so he was stopping more than 4 goals than was expected to go in. Now, if you only look at Leevi Meriläinen's 11 starts and take away one of his relief appearances, his numbers shoot up even more. And this is why I'm so impressed by him, because, again, it's not like this was just a flash in the pan. He was consistent in the AHL, and then whenever he was brought up over here to Ottawa, was consistent and dominant. Last year, if you only look at the starts, all 11 of them last year, he had a 1.92 goals against average and a .929 save percentage. Let's go, Leevi Merilinen Sanity. That is fantastic, especially coming from your backup. You don't want Ullmark to be run to the ground before the playoffs, right? You don't want to play him 60+. I could see a situation where Meriläinen, if he's the backup, plays 20-25 games. And I think he can handle that. He showed last year that he could. He shows that he can handle a starter workload there in the AHL. He could definitely play double the games he played last year. I don't think that's crazy to say. But also, we all know that Ullmark has that injury history. This is why I really, really want to bring in a third goaltender. Because, again, it's nothing against Leevi Meriläinen. I don't trust the lack of experience that we have in the goaltending department right now. And I think if we can just bring in somebody, that would just make me feel a little bit better, even if they're in Belleville. You know what I mean? I just think for depth purposes, and again, you never know what happens, right? In your goaltending crease, freak injuries happen. You just never know. It's good to be, locked in with 3 goalies that you're comfortable rolling out there. I know that's easier said than done, but again, yes, I think Meriläinen can be that starter in the future. I think he can even handle that workload next year. He can definitely handle, like I just said, backup numbers of games, like 24 to 25. But ultimately, again, this is still a very, very young goaltender. and you don't want to throw 50 games at him. God forbid something happens to Linus Ullmark. So I'm just throwing that out there again. I don't want to dampen the mood, especially considering the fact that, look at those numbers. I mean, holy cow. Leevi Meriläinen is absolutely insane when it comes to stopping pucks. But ultimately, it's nothing against him. I just think three-headed monster there in net, so to speak, having three guys with either experience or that projectability to exceed would be a smart move for the Ottawa Senators. Now, yes, he's going to be the backup, but you know what? He's also eligible to win the Calder because he didn't play enough games last year. So we'll see what happens. In that scenario where, God forbid, and I really hope this doesn't happen, I don't think it will, but God forbid, Linus Ullmark gets hurt, Leevi Meriläinen, I think he could step in. He's shown that he could do that already last year. Maybe he wins the Calder, you know what I mean? Maybe put your money in on that real early on a betting thing, right? But again, that's not betting advice, by the way. Who knows what happens? But what I will say again is I'm very excited for this because this is a prove-it deal for Leevi Meriläinen. A year from now, if he does well, even in a backup role, he's going to get probably double what he got at the minimum on this contract. And again, I see Leevi Meriläinen as the future starting goaltender for the Ottawa Senators. I know that sounds crazy when you have a guy like Linus Ullmark currently on your team, but ultimately, again, Ullmark's not getting any younger. He can definitely be that starting Vezina-winning star goaltender for like the next 5 years, give or take, 3 to 5 years at the minimum. But you do want to have a goaltender there that's ready to pick it up if things kind of falter, right? Again, the goaltending position is so volatile. You never know what can happen year to year. Even the best guys sometimes fall off. Again, not saying that's going to happen with Linus Ullmark. This guy's been a stud since he's entered the league. I'm just saying you want to have insurance back there, especially if you're investing so much into the future with all these draft picks and these guys we're signing for the forward core and for the back end on the blue line. You got to take care of your goaltending as well, right? So Meriläinen's contract situation next year will be very, very interesting. I would pay him, though. I would keep him around because I'm sick and tired of losing goaltenders. Philip Gustafsson, the name one. Joey Daccord, the name another. I'm done with it. So Leevi Meriläinen, welcome back to Ottawa. Thank goodness this was quick, easy, no issues at all. And again, I see this guy absolutely being the starting goaltender for the Ottawa Senators of the future. And having him, there with Linus Ullmark as a mentor, it's like a passing the torch, so to speak. This is beautiful. Let Ullmark dominate for the next few years, and then Meriläinen will take the torch. Beautiful. And I'll just talk about his stats quickly in the AHL because I mentioned it multiple times. 65 games in the AHL, 31 wins, so nearly one half of the games he played in, or started, I should say. 912 save percentage and a 2.53 goals against average with 6 shutouts. Also put up 2 points, so there you go, buddy. Getting a couple of apples there. But again, dominated in the AHL, has shown all he needs to show, really. And at such a young age, okay, he's a young goaltender, doing this well already. The sky's the limit for him because, again, goaltenders often struggle a lot early in their development. Not him. He's been dominant since day one. So I'm so excited to see Maryland Sanity back in Ottawa. And yeah, again, just really happy they got this done without any issue. Now, another contract that the Sens signed yesterday was the Rat Rink, Nick Cousins. He's back on a 1-year, $825,000 deal to keep the 31-year-old winger in Ottawa. Now, weirdly enough, the contract hasn't officially been announced by the Ottawa Senators, but it was confirmed by Bruce Garriock and first reported by Leems Marchand on Twitter, so I fully trust both those sources, and I expect this to be official within probably by the time we're watching this, if not by noon before free agency. Again, 2 credible sources are reporting this and confirming it. It's going to happen. Again, just wanted to note that, though, because it is a little weird that it still has not been made official. Last year, Nick Cousins played in 50 games, averaging just under 12 minutes of ice time, scoring 6 goals and putting up 15 points with 85 hits, 26 blocks, and a Corsi for percentage at 5-on-5 at 51.77. This is a good signing for the Ottawa Senators. Is this going to move the needle? I don't know, but this is a signing that you need if you're going to be, especially a playoff team. You need a guy there on the fourth line that's just going to run around, run in his mouth, creating chaos, getting in the heads of the other team. Also just a good locker room guy from all the things that I've heard, especially from players, right? So again, like Nick Cousins is a guy that you hate to play against. Like I think an Athletic poll the other year, I think said that 30% of the league rated him as the player they hate the most. But ironically, he's kind of like the Brad Marchand effect where when he's on your team, the guys love him and of course, the fan base loves him. So he's one of those guys. Again, he's not Brad Marchand. I pray that he could be a Brad Marchand, obviously. But again, he has that kind of effect. You know what I mean? And you need that for your fourth line. You really, really do. You need a guy out there that's just going to create chaos, get into the heads of the other guys, and just absolutely be a rat. And that is the style of play that the Ottawa Senators play. And it makes sense to bring in a guy like Nick Cousins. Now, again, don't expect him to drop the gloves. He rarely does that. but expect him to be able to potentially draw some power plays. And again, just get into the heads of the other guys. And again, look, Nick Cousins, everyone's like, oh, he's just a rat. He's just a rat. And yeah, for the most part, he's a big part of his game. It's just being a rat. But he also isn't a horrible offensive guy. 6 goals, not bad from your fourth line right there. 15 points, also not bad, especially in basically half a year or 50 games. If you average that out to like 82 games, you're looking at 25, 20 points. That's not bad from your fourth line winger, okay? That's getting like 8 to 10 minutes of ice time on average, right? So that is pretty solid to me. He's also a guy that I guess you can try out there on the penalty kill. They haven't done that so far. I do expect that, they're going to bring in a guy like that today in free agency, like a Radek Faksa or Brandon Tanev, to name a few. But again, when it comes to Nick Cousins, this is a guy that also, again, as I already said, has some offensive ability. I was at the game against Nashville. He had a beautiful breakaway, ripped it top shelf, pointed to the crowd, beautiful celebration. And this is a guy, by the way, that led the Sens last year in rush attempts per 60 at 5-on-5 with 1.24. So he actually has some sneaky speed. And that's something you want on your fourth line. Again, depending on who we bring in today for that fourth line to join him, it doesn't look like Adam Gaudette's going to come back. According to Elliot Freeman and Bruce Garriock, he's going to be testing free agency. He hasn't closed the door in Ottawa, but right now it looks like he's going to at least look at his other options. So again, having a guy like Nick Cousins there with whoever they bring in, that'll be nice for the fourth line for sure. Even a Stephen Holiday, potentially, an offensive guy, could get that opportunity. I wouldn't do that again. I think you want him more on a third line role when he's ready. But again, it's definitely a possibility, and I think Holiday can absolutely, make magic here with Nick Cousins as an idea, right? Now, I will just say this. He needs to cut down on the minors in his own zone. There's been a lot of penalties he's taken in our own zone. He was 4th on the Sens last year in penalty minutes with 41. So again, that's going to happen when you're a rat on the fourth line running around. But I do want him to kind of be a little more disciplined in the offensive zone anyways, because again, when you have an offensive, cycle going, the last thing you need to do is take a penalty. And that did happen a few times last year. Last thing, by the way, in terms of hits, he was top 10 on the Ottawa Senators in hits with 85. So again, he throws around the body. He's your prototypical fourth line winger. No issue with this contract whatsoever. So now with that, the Ottawa Senators have $6.3 million of cap space. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do today. Again, the Ottawa Senators are going to leave roughly $1 million or $2 million of cap space going into the year for call-ups and whatnot, maybe additions throughout the year. This has been already said many, many times. So 6.3, and this is not including Jensen on the LTIR, but just casting that aside for a second, with the 6.3 we have, you're probably looking at $5 million in play. So again, expect like another league minimum or $1 million type contract for your fourth line. And then maybe they take a shot on a winger that can play middle six numbers. Like Evgeny Dadonov would be funny, of course. Jeff Skinner, Corey Perry. I mean, there's some guys, right? So we'll see what happens with that. But let me know what you think about these contracts and what Ottawa should do today and throughout free agency down below. Thank you all for watching, and welcome back again. The Rat Rink, Nick Cousins, and Maryland Sanity, Leevi Meriläinen. 2 solid signings for Ottawa that helps fill out our depth. And these are important signings again. These guys don't get all the glory, but they certainly play a factor in helping the Ottawa Senators win some games. Now with that, I'll see you all hopefully soon. Go Sens, go.